Hello, and welcome back to the series where I explain clans, or otherwise known as classes, inside a Vampire the Masquerade tabletop game to people that might have never played it. And today we're gonna be focusing on the wizards of the vampire world, part of the world of darkness. And now, mind you, this is not the only clan that can do magic. But their pitch to everyone else is practically that their worth highly relies on them being wizards. Therefore, we are gonna be referring to them as the canonic vampire wizards or vampire mages, however you wanna go with it. Even if that's not an area that they have monopolized as much as Tremere would like you to think that they have monopolized. And their abilities kind of reflect that. So in V20, which is the anniversary edition of the game, it's a bit older, it kind of sums up all the previous versions that came before it. The abilities that the Tremere clan got was Auspex, which is the ability to pretty much see the unseen, things as like auras, for example. Dominate, which is a way to control another person's mind. And Thaumaturgy, which was their own version of very Tremere-specific, vampire-specific magic. And Thaumaturgy had a lot of paths in it, so depending on which path in Thaumaturgy you took, you could like control the element, so you could like do alchemy and similar fun stuff. It's like having a magic system designed specifically for the clan Tremere. There are a lot of different versions of magic that you can like pick from. You pick one, you go with that. You can also learn other paths as you go along through your campaigns with your character, but it becomes kind of expensive and a lot harder because that's not quite what you specialize in. And then in the V5 edition, which is the newest edition, they still have Auspex and Dominate, but their Thaumaturgy got replaced with Blood Sorcery. And now Blood Sorcery, it's kind of very specific feature of it is that Banu Hakim, which is another clan in Vampire the Masquerade that I have not talked about yet, I believe, so I'll have to make a video on that. But Banu Hakim also have access to the exact same ability as the Tremere. So if you think they're like vampire mage shtick, is very much not like a unique thing to them, but they would love for you to believe that it is a unique thing to them, because that is kind of their calling card, the way that they sell themselves. And if we go to the history of Clan Tremere, they have started as House Tremere, which was a house of mages in the order of Hermes. It's a hermetic order. And their leader and founder was Tremere. Hermetic arts very much focused on trying to extend their lifespans and continue living for forever, and Hermetic arts kind of have... They're not... Forever of a Hermetic arts order is not like literal forever. There's long-lived mages, but they do die eventually, and House Tremere at one point was kind of faced with the fact that they're all gonna die because they are mortal, and they did not like that at all. So they were experimenting with everything that they could get their hands on in order to try and not die. This included catching Tzimisce, which was a type clan of vampire. I've already talked about Tzimisce in the previous video of mine. You can go and watch that if you want to know what Tzimisce are. Catching clan Tzimisce and kind of taking their blood and also experimenting with it. Eventually, that culminated in Goratrix, which was a highly trusted member of Clan Tremere, inviting Tremere himself and 6 of the founder's closest advisors to participate in a completed ritual that promised true immortality. It was gonna do something with that vampire blood. So they all sat down, they did this ultra secret ritual that Goratrix have made, and they all passed out and woke up vampires. They lost their avatars, which for a mage, an avatar is kind of a combination of your higher self. So it is in some way still a part of you and like an external deity. So you can sort of interact with this spirit as if it was separate from yourself, get advice, get guidance. Every mage has one, but not every mage has the ability to really like perceive and communicate with it on a bigger level than intuition. It's like in game terms, it's the ascended part of the mage. So it's like the part that's no longer human, that is already above human, that is prepared for the journey beyond in the cosmos and whatever comes after for a mage. But there's still the human part of the mage that is still living their lives and getting through all that they have to get through. So, in real terms, it's like take the idea of a higher self and merge it with like a deity that you can like go to and pray to and ask for help from. But also, it's not really an external deity as such. It's more like it's a part of you that's just like actualized. And if you're really, really good at magic, then you can actually like physically see and talk with this creature that's also like a part of you. But if you're not like super good at magic or magic of that kind, then you can sort of just like get intuitive pangs of like, hey, maybe I shouldn't go to the store today, and then the disaster strikes and like the ceiling collapses in the store, that sort of thing. It's what you would be used to as regular intuition. And this mechanic is kind of for the mages. So the moment you die and become a vampire, the moment you become a vampire, that is entirely lost. So none of them have their avatars right now, which is kind of a huge deal already. But they also have lost their magical powers with it. Yay! So, like, these 8 people, like Tremere, Gertrix, and Tremere's 6 closest advisors, they're there like shitting bricks. And Tremere manages to bind each one of these people to him and convince them that, wait a minute, this is not that bad. This is not that bad. We can work with this. And he convinces them to win some time to still like pretend to be entirely normal, but like give away their chantries, give away their like any kind of household things to their subordinates so that it wouldn't look that suspicious that, they're no longer alive. So to put up with that charade that they're living mages, everything's fine, they're definitely not a vampire for a while longer. And while they're doing that, they're trying to reconstruct their magical powers, which is what thaumaturgy was. It was like a reconstruction of a mage's power, but artificially through the help of blood. That's kind of how the whole clan got started. Mind you, it wasn't smooth sailing for them, and they have made so many mistakes because it wasn't smooth sailing. For one thing, Simitsi were really pissed at them. There was like a huge war that started over that. They have slowly managed to, in secret, embrace the rest of the House Tremere, like bonding each one of like the new initiates to like one of their previous persons that was like embracing them. So they are turning their whole of the House Tremere into Clan Tremere over time, while also dealing with like a really pissed Zemitzi. And they kind of all became a vampires in 1022, so pretty late. All of the other vampires had like zero respect for them because they kind of cobbled together their own vampirism. And eventually, the rest of like House Hermes found out that House Tremere is now no longer a House Tremere, but it's effectively like a huge group of vampires. So their own previous house has started trying to also annihilate them and fight them. They were like really pushed into corner. And because they were pushed into the corner, they have committed some really, really horrible atrocities. For example, Tremere found out about diablerie, which is if you eat another vampire, you can take their power. They have chosen the clan Salubri and decided to go on a mission to find the founding member of Clan Salubri, which would be a third generation vampire. And it was like a vampire that was in torpor, which is to say, he was asleep. Like, really old vampires, they don't tend to be awake all the time. A lot of them, like, sleep for centuries, for thousands of years. And in fact, when they wake up, they are feared because oftentimes they wake up really hungry and they will consume majority of their clan. But they're also kind of revered because they started the clan. So Salubri is just like in a tomb somewhere, guarded by other members of Clan Salubri. Tremere breaks in and eats them in order to gain some power, and obviously that looks really bad. Like, other vampires would hire Clan Tremere because of their magical abilities, but they were seen as like a low clan and a very not trustworthy one because they literally ate the founder of another clan in order to get where they are. Like, they have committed some really atrocious things to other vampires in order to be here, which is definitely not very honorable. So they needed to do something about that. So, first of all, when Clan Tremere founder ate Salubri, he fell into torpor himself. He would wake up and like participate in some little bits of the clan here and there, but for the most part, he is asleep. And what is lore accurate is that the founder of Salubri's soul that was consumed by the founder of Clan Tremere did not give up. So they're just like having astral combat out there for like a long time. And that doesn't leave this guy any like brain space to control his body. So he's just there like in an epic fight for his life for the most part starting here. So not the best life, I'm not gonna lie. A lot of the things that Clan Tremere do really backfire on them pretty badly, and then they continue doing things that backfire on them pretty badly, and it like keeps on the thing just keeps on rolling. But anyway, they now have a third generation founder. It makes them like a legitimately strong clan. The rest of like their Tremere people also like go up in power levels effectively. So vampire community kind of has to deal with them, but they perceive them as somewhat untrustworthy and like outsiders and not like a clan that anyone is ever gonna like respect. So they go, we should do something about that. I know, Salubri are actually evil. So they go on this huge propaganda campaign about how Salubri eats souls. And technically, there's like a smidge of truth in that, but not entirely. And the next episode that you're gonna see on this channel will be on Salubri, which will also leave in a completely off-topic episode on Bali, because all three of these are like connected. Like the arrow continues pointing that way. To like understand the whole history of Tremere, you need to understand Salubri, but to understand Salubri, you need to understand Bali. So these three are interconnected. But just so you know, Salubri is like, sorta can be counted as a clan, but not quite, because majority of them were entirely eradicated. So, in game terms, there's not enough of them to be powerful, and they're kind of held down and oppressed and nearly hunted to extinction. So, in game terms, they would be counted as a bloodline. A bloodline is normally a splinter of a clan. So it's like if you think about a clan as a class, then a bloodline would be like a subclass. But if a clan loses their power like so much that they're now super rare and nobody deals with them, they kind of get demoted to a bloodline. Version 5 of the game, according to Paradox, treats Salubri as a clan because, for one thing, they're listed on the page that lists all the clans. However, technically, there's not a lot of Salubri, and in V20, they were treated as a bloodline. Now, Bali, like a bloodline that nobody has ever played nice with. I don't think that there was any time in history and time when they could have claimed a full clan status. They have always been a sort of an outsider, and they're like, if you consider regular vampires to be evil, then this is like an evil that transcends evil. This is like the boogeyman of vampires. So that is also technically completely a bloodline. Therefore, off topic for this series. But to understand the full history of Tremere, you kind of have to understand the history of Salubri, and to understand the history of Salubri, you kind of have to understand Bali. So it's kind of, the list kind of goes on. So the next episode will be on Salubri, and the episode afterwards will be on Bali. Now, what do I mean that there's a smidgen on truth of Salubri eating souls? There is one ability that allows you to, let's just say, undo the suffering of the dying by taking in their soul into like your own aura. I don't think I can explain that really well, but smidge of truth. See? I went through and found the exact ability that I was speaking about, because I want to be accurate in this. So, the Salubri has the ability called Ending the Watch. Ending the Watch can only be used on a dying mortal or one who is truly, without coercion, wishes for death. Generally, the mortally wounded or the elderly are targets of this power, but torture victims or those suffering deeply from depression are equally viable. System. The Salubri spends a willpower point and lays hand over a valid target's heart, peacefully and painlessly killing them. The player then rolls the character's perception plus empathy, difficulty 7. Upon success, the target's soul is absorbed. So there is some truth to Salubri being soul eaters, but how you perceive this ability will be entirely different depending on whether you're Salubri or whether you're Tremere. Because for Tremere, it is truly monstrous. For Salubri, it is ending the suffering of somebody that has been suffering unjustly and that they can't help in any other way. So they help them like this. This has been a side tangent. I'm very sorry. So anyway, they brand Salubri to be soul eaters, and they spread the message about how evil the Salubri are, and more clans agree to mark Salubri for a blood hunt, which is, if you ever see a member of this clan, you can legally kill them and even legally diablerize them. So, take that vampire soul into yourself and like increase in power. That's what a blood hunt is. You're kind of eradicating the Salubri for the most part. The Tremere then like raise in ranks because there isn't anyone to quite call them as atrocious as they're actually being. And when it comes time to form factions, they participate in the forming of Camarilla. They make deals with the Ventru, and they become like one of the primary clans inside the Camarilla, and their position then feels a lot safer, which is not to say that it is entirely safe. Because before that point, they actually managed to piss off even more people, because you know how they have to be fighting like Semites, and they have to be fighting like their former mage buddies at the same time? Well, they kind of needed expendable pawns, so what Tremere did is they managed to create a gargoyle. And a gargoyle is a being of stone made from captured Tzimisce, Nosferatu, and Gangrel. You effectively wipe the creature's memory entirely and turn their skin into stone and blood bond them to yourself, making them like a willing foot soldier. Huzzah! Which is also not super huzzah. Kind of bit them in the ass later on that as well. A lot of things that they did bit them directly back, and with good reason. But it's like the Tremere history is just so interesting. Now, another thing to mention is that there's quite a lot of things to mention, actually. So, Gertrix gets in trouble with the rest of the clan Tremere at one point. The Tremere wakes up and he makes a judgment upon him. So, while Clan Tremere is one of like the founding clans of the faction Camarilla, Gertrix and like some Tremere that have broken off go and exist inside the rival faction, the Sabbat. The Sabbat have a lot of Tzimisce in them, so they don't like that. They don't like Tremere. I mean, the only reason why Tremere even exists is because they have performed wild experiments on the Tzimisce. So Tzimisce never allows these Tremere anti-tribute to ever like rise in ranks inside the Sabbat. And on top of that, the Tremere wakes up and they do a couple of rituals. One of the rituals is the cursed clan Asimite. In order to stop them from drinking the blood of Cainites without suffering extreme danger, because clan Asimite have eaten quite a few people. So they have done that, and they decided that's entirely right for them to do. So that's another kind of pissed off clan when it comes to, clan Tremere. And then they also marked all of the anti-tribute Tremere with an invisible T that is only seen to other Tremere, marking them for like targets to be hunted down. So there's already like a fracture. in there. We covered like most of the really huge bad shit that Tremere have done. Now things have actually started happening back to Tremere. So first, in 1998, House Goratrix, which is the Tremere inside the Sabbat, get wiped out by some sort of ritual from the Tremere that are inside the Camarilla. They just kind of perform a one big ritual, and all of the members of House Goratrix that were in the same place at the same time, they all kind of just poof, and they get wiped out. By this point, also, a lot of gargoyles are trying to seek independence. Mind you, Clan Tremere is not very intact themselves. Well, at this point, they sorta still are, because they're really, really like pushing for that staying as one unit, which also includes like wiping out their own clan brethren that didn't go the right way with them to the right faction, just because they didn't like how the kind of things that Gertrix have done and kind of exiled him. But in 2008, the Second Inquisition raids the Vienna Chantry and effectively destroys all of the foundational blocks of Clan Tremere, which is their founder, which is still kind of mostly stuck in torpor, fighting Salubri's soul never in like a never-ending astral combat, and like all of his council underneath, like all of those 6 members that he originally took with himself to the ritual that Goratrix was performing, like all of them get wiped out. And because every single person, every single other Tremere was blood bonded to these guys and to the council, the whole pyramid kind of becomes, it starts unraveling. So now you don't just have Clan Tremere. Well, you do, it's still a clan. But within Clan Tremere, now you have House Tremere, which is Camarilla aligned. And they're still loyal to the old ways, and they're following traditional hermetics. But now you also have House Karna, which is mostly Camarilla aligned. Some are in the Anarchs. They're pagan nonconformists, Wiccans, modern witches, the kind of people that normally wouldn't like be inside Clan Tremere, because previously they kind of held on to what Clan Tremere is like really strongly, but then when all of their top fell, the pyramid entirely unraveled. You have House Goratrix, which was annihilated, but some people kind of revived it again. It is presumed to be led by Goratrix, but also unclear on that. Put a pin in that. Goratrix is either dead or not dead. It's a question mark. There's also theories that Tremere has escaped his body upon his body dying and went to reside inside Goratrix's body, like taking over his soul and his body, and is now like leading House Goratrix. There's also a possibility that actually it was the Salot, original Salubri soul, that survived and went and took over the body of Goratrix and then revived House Goratrix. It is possible that it is Goratrix. It is possible that Goratrix no longer exists. And there's also House Ipsimus, which is mostly Anarch aligned. They're normally not really given any kind of respect within Clan Tremere. They're decentralized and leaderless, sort of. And if I remember correctly, they heavily deal in technology. But this might be Mirta's memory failing. This might not be Mirta's memory failing, so take that part with a bit of salt. I think I have recalled majority of Clan Tremere history to you now, so like the top of the Clan Tremere exploded in like 2008, and they're facing a lot of the issues they have previously caused because Salubri are kind of coming back in numbers and they're pissed. The Semites never stopped being pissed. The top heads are gone, so there's nothing to keep the clan intact and in place. And in like the power that they had, their gargoyles are rebelling, and it is very much things that they have kind of caused onto themselves, but it's hiccuping all the way back up to them now, rather than at any other point. Before that whole explosion happens, and mind you, if you're playing version 20, most of the time you're playing a pre-2008 version, so all of like the power structures of the Tremere are intact. The way the house Tremere worked is like a pyramid. So like you had Tremere and you had counselors. Each counselor had like, I think it was, 7 pontifices. Then you had, each pontifice had 7 lords. Then like each lord had like some amount of regents. And then each regent had apprentices underneath them, and then there was like magisters to the side next to the regents, because technically magisters did not have any kind of power inside that pyramid, because it's technically not like a power position, but they were like old enough to technically be a regent and knowledgeable enough, but instead of trying to go for the position of regent and fight inside their own clan, they would instead take this position of wise master and advisor that could advise the young apprentices and could presumably also probably advise regents if like they needed a second opinion on something, because it is a powerful position, but like technically kind of to the side of the pyramid, not like in direct pyramid. And then under the apprentices were acolytes. Those were the newborn Tremere that haven't quite gone even sworn into the rest of the pyramid of the Tremere. And the moment you get sworn into it, you kind of become an apprentice, and swearing into it involves drinking the blood of the council so that you're bonded to the council and therefore can, perform whatever they want you to perform without fighting too much. That's how they kept that whole structure intact. And then, well, the top fell and all of it just went. That structure was part of Tremere for a very, very long time. Mind you, Tremere are very cutthroat on the inside because, power is something that's desired. You can get stuck in the apprentice, which is like the bottom rank after initiation, mostly because there's like nowhere for you to go. If there's enough regents, then there's enough regents, and regent tends to like oversee a singular chantry inside the quite a big area. Like you could say that it's like a county of sorts. And if the power above them doesn't see the need to open a new chantry, there's no need to elect a new regent. The only time there's a need to elect a new regent is if the previous one dies for some reason, or if there's a new place to open a chantry in, just like a combined house Tremere place. It's like where they all live and learn and stuff like that. It's like you could call it like a church, but can also have sleeping quarters. Like it's that place that all the Tremere go to and in the area and listen to. So because the power structure is like so tightly set, it became a very, very competitive place. On top of it, like being attacked from every possible side at all times, and whenever they would find a strategy that would win them any ground, like making gargoyles or eating the Salubrious founder, it will eventually like hiccup back onto them. So it's not a very lucky clan, even though majority of their downfalls they have caused themselves. So because of how competitive Clan Tremere is on the inside, they mostly would embrace people with strong will, aggressive personalities that still have a clear head on their shoulders. Interest in occult is like a nice extra, but it's not necessarily necessary. In order to embrace anyone into Clan Tremere, you used to really need like an AOK, not only from like the local prince, but also from your regent. Like your regent needed to approve it. And also, a lot of embraces for Tremere would fail because the person that got embraced into unlife, they're being bound to the rest of the clan, and namely the people on top. They're being taught very specific rules that they must follow at all times, how to live, what's good, what's not good, and at the same time, they're being taught magic of the clan. And for a lot of people, all of this like topsy-turvy, turning their life completely upside down while also being in a highly competitive environment, while also having to learn a lot of things really quickly in order to adapt, it doesn't go down very well. So a lot of Tremere tend to kind of go a bit loopy, and a lot of them would kind of take themselves out or get taken out because they were just not strong enough to survive in that kind of environment. So it's not a super nice place to be. But that's how the clan used to be doing the things that they used to be doing. So now we kind of need to talk about clan's weaknesses. In the original edition of Vampire the Masquerade, so anything below V20, like version 1, version 2, and so on, the clan weakness of the original Tremere was that they're all initiated and they're all bloodbound to the clan, so they can't necessarily refuse what the clan demands of them. In V20 edition, Clan Tremere are bloodbound a lot faster than any other kindred. So the first time when they drink somebody's blood, it counts as if they have drank it twice. In order to have like a complete mind slave that would want to do anything for you, you kind of need to get them to drink your blood on 3 consecutive nights. It doesn't quite need to be consecutive, like you have about a month's leeway there, but like they have to drink it once on one night, and then in less than a month they have to drink it again, and then in less than a month from that they have to drink it again, but it has to be separate nights. So if you're blood bonding a Clan Tremere member, it would be 2 nights instead of 3, and the first time that they drink your blood, they're already like more than halfway there, which means that they're very much influenced by what you do, hence it was a clan's weakness. In the 5th edition, because their whole pyramid collapses, because the head Tremere is no longer there, and like all of the 6 people that you used to trust are no longer there, the Tremere are no longer able to create blood bonds with other kindred, so other vampires, through normal means. Tremere can still bind mortals and ghouls, but it will be a lot harder than it is for a regular vampire. They cannot bind other vampires at all. And now, Compulsion is something that gets triggered specifically in version 5 of the game when you botch a roll. And the compulsion for Tremere is perfectionism, which is nothing but the best satisfies the vampire. Anything less than exceptional performance instills a profound sense of failure, and they often repeat tasks obsessively to get them just right. Until the vampire scores a critical win or on a skill roll or the scene ends, the vampire labors under a 2 dice penalty to all dice pools. So they're just kind of trying to do the action that they have done but better, or to a point where it is perfect, and unless they can get it perfect, they won't stop doing it until you either kind of drag them out of the room, so like out of the scene, or they actually get the action that they were doing perfect. Which, in my opinion, is kind of bigger clan weakness than clan's weakness, but you know, it kind of depends on how you play and how often blood bonding comes into your game that you're playing. So that has been all of the information that you should kind of have on Clan Tremere. Information on Clan Salubri, Bali, and Banu Hakim incoming, because all of it kind of relates to Clan Tremere. So it is kind of important to know. If you have anything to add, or if I said anything wrong or did anything wrong, please tell me in the comment section down below. I have misspoken before. How do you like the clan? Do you often play vampire mages? Because it's not just playing vampire mages, it's vampire mages with a lot of strings attached, so, you know, there's that. If you ever played Clan Tremere and had a good game, why not share about it in the comment section down below? Other than that, thank you so much for watching. I do Vampire the Masquerade videos on the weekly at the moment. My other videos tend to either be spirituality or gameplay related of other games. So look around the channel, figure out if it is something that you like. If it is something that you like, I would love for you to subscribe. Thank you for all of my subscribers that have been here and watched this video. And also, thank you so much for my Patreons that help me pay for video games, because in the current market, they are quite expensive. So then, I hope I'm gonna see you all on my other video, and toodaloo for now.